Welcome to the Whiskey Rant. So the channel where I drink whiskey, and I rant. So my previous rant touched on the multifaceted aspects of the abortion debate, and I wanted to briefly touch on some of those that I'd mentioned previously. So not so much the procedural aspects of the science side of abortion, more as it relates to the developmental aspects of it. So like a detectable heartbeat, life, pain, that sort of stuff. I don't know anybody, so not a single person, that thinks that the fetus, even during its germinal stages, does not equate to a living organism, or an organism generally speaking, or colloquially speaking. We all understand that. So we understand that something that just has a single cell is alive, or it is a living biological being. So everything from the sperm, that's alive, the single one, it's alive. So the egg, also alive. The potatoes you buy from the grocery store, the fucking leaves on a tree, that's all alive. That life does not equate to fetal personhood. And that's where our biggest issue is, or that's where the biggest hangup is as far as I'm concerned. Scientific reasons why we should still allow for abortion to be legal, are as such, at least from my fucking perspective, man. So first and foremost, excuse me, when it comes to pain, the fetuses don't feel pain. So it's pretty well known. Researchers in Oslo, back in 2005, they determined that worms, because of their significantly simplistic nervous system, don't actually feel any pain. It's the same thing with crustaceans like lobsters and crabs as well. So you throw them some bitches into a boil, and yeah, they move around, so they thrash and all that good shit. They're not actually experiencing any pain and suffering because of the fact that their nervous system is so incredibly simplistic. All that they're experiencing, or all that they're doing when you watch that, or if you put a worm on a fish hook and you see that it wraps around, it acts like it's in pain because that's how we interpret that as humans. It's not actually in any pain because it lacks the nervous system development in order to experience those same things on the same level that we do. Fetal development is very, very similar to that. It does not actually have the cortex and the thalamocortical tracts in order to experience pain until about the 24th week. Now, according to a British Medical Journal article from 2019, it may not be required to have the cortex, so the fetus could experience pain as early as 13 weeks. Now, that being said, between 13 weeks and 14 weeks is not what a lot of legislators nor a lot of people who are vehemently anti-abortion want you to believe. So at least not from the scientific perspective. And when the legislatures and these anti-abortion activists try to say that, well, that's science, that it's a life. It's like, well, but it's not science that it's a person. So there's a difference between those two. The other thing that we look at is we see a lot of fucking heartbeat bills, and they try to contend that, well, the fetal heartbeat can be detectable as early as 6 weeks via an ultrasound. That's not true in the slightest. What's actually being detected through that ultrasound is not the heartbeat, which is caused by the opening and closing of the atrial valves. So it's the electrical impulses is what's actually being detected, and the ultrasound, not exactly understanding how to interpret those electrical impulses, simply creates the sound for you. So you're not actually hearing a beat or a heartbeat. You're hearing electrical impulses as interpreted by a machine. So that was created to not necessarily be able to interpret those things accurately. So it's almost like as a musician, I can kind of attest to this. It's kind of like a digital recording. So that's really what it is. That's not the actual sound that you're hearing. What you're hearing is an interpretation of the electrical signals that's going on. So the heartbeat that you hear, like when you listen to a heartbeat through a stethoscope, so that's the opening and closing of the valves. So that's not actually the electrical impulses that you're hearing, unlike on an ultrasound. So that being said, that's probably all that I have to say or will say about the scientific aspects of why abortion should be legal. A lot of it just has to do with the fact that, you know what? So a freaking germinal stage zygote blastocyst fetus, not a human. So it won't even experience pain until almost 5 months in.